got flowers? Good morning.
Good.
Beautiful.
Hello, happy people. Welcome to the Homestead. I'm Kip with Homestead Living in Thousand Roots. My lovely wife is the best camera woman in the world.
Oh my.
And today we're going to share with you what our vision is for this property, a little bit more about who we are, and revisit things that we talked about like years ago on our Thousand Roots channel. If you don't know about our Thousand Roots channel, you need to go check that out. Our boys are running that, or our boys and Esther Pie are running that channel, and they're putting out some great content. So to revisit, we are a family of 9 living in the Ozarks of Missouri, and we are building an off-grid permaculture homestead here. So we live off-grid. We've been living off-grid now for about 9 years, really.
Yeah.
And that's a lovely adventure. But we want to become as self-sufficient as possible. That means we want to grow as much of our own food as possible on this 20 acres here. So today we're going to be sharing about that, our journey, how we got here, and hopefully you will be encouraged and inspired to maybe rediscover your passions and begin to pursue your passions. That's what we're endeavoring to do, because this is a passion of ours. Growing our own food, teaching our children how to do it, living more so in harmony with creation.
So for most people, pursuing a passion does not come without challenges, and you really have to fight for it sometimes. This morning we're out here using the dumpy level. We're working on overcoming a challenge in our future main crop area. It is a slope that we're going to be building our main crop garden space on. So we just discovered that it's a 3.5 foot difference from the top to the bottom of this space that we're going to be growing in out here. It's all covered with vinyl right now to try and keep the weeds smothered until we really get a chance to start working on this. So that's a challenge, how to design a garden on a slope that's got a 3.5 foot elevation difference. Alright guys, so Kip and I spent some time this morning talking over a bunch of ideas, and I think we've got a tentative plan for how to overcome the challenge of the slope in our main crop area. We are not giving up. We are excited about that space and look forward to sharing the construction of that area in the future with y'all. But for today, a lot of stuff came up that was unexpected today, and Kip had to take off with some of the boys to get more sawdust for our sawdust bin here, because we do composting toilets. So I thought I would just maybe share a little bit of our backstory with you, because I think that when you tell your story, it can kind of help bring to the surface what your passions really are. Sometimes because of all the challenges in life, passions can become buried. We were all created though with a purpose, and our Creator gave us a passion for that purpose. And so despite anything that might be thrown at us, or anything that might try and distract us from that passion, we always have a choice to get back to where we belong, back to doing what we were created to do, and do it with all of our heart. So in today's video, as I just share a little bit of Kip and I's story, I hope you'll be thinking about what your story is. If you're not walking in your passion or passions, or maybe you don't even know what your passion is yet, take a look back at your life and maybe even go and tell somebody your story and see if you can grab hold of that passion again. Alright, so I was hoping Kip was going to be here for this part. I'm just going to have to tell a little bit of his story. I'm going to try and cut in some pictures for y'all just so it's not me talking the whole time. But so Kip grew up in the city, Southern California, and he spent a lot of his time doing sports. That was what his family was into, so that's what he did. When he thinks back on his childhood, the things he remembers most actually are camping trips that his family took every year. So it wasn't the sports that he was passionate about. it was being able to get away from the city, even though it was just to the beach oftentimes. He loved being able to get away out of the city and do camping. He loved going hiking and basically just being out in creation as much as possible. I grew up kind of the opposite situation. I grew up in the country, a very small town, also in California, town called Mariposa near Yosemite National Park. And although I could have gone hiking, camping, been out in nature all the time, so much of my time was wrapped up, at least during the school year, with homework and all that went along with public school. So the times that I was able to actually enjoy the country where I lived really stick out to me. I remember a time where a friend came over, we got all our homework done, and we were able to go walk down to our creek that was nearby, and we found a whole bunch of wild flowers growing along the creek. They were, I think, periwinkles or vinca. And we dug up a bunch of them and transplanted them along the driveway, my parents' driveway. And I worked so hard to keep those little flowers alive. It was not their best environment, but I loved being able to dig those flowers up and transplant them to a place where we could enjoy them. I also remember doing a flower project for high school biology class. It was a huge project, like the biggest project of the class. And it involved gathering as many species of flowers as possible and drying them and putting them all together with cards and information. And it was a huge project, tons of work, but I absolutely loved it. So fast forward to college days. Kip and I both went to Simpson College in Redding, California. So we met the end of 1998. And of course, everyone's got a story of how they met. You can check out our full story of how we met over on the Thousands of Roots channel. So I won't go into that whole story, but we courted and we ended up getting married in June of 2000. And then we moved down to Southern California and lived with Kip's parents for a few years. And while living there, we were very much immersed in city life. We went to the movies, we went out to eat a lot. We acquired a lot of stuff, a lot of credit card debt, and basically just kind of fell into the trap of consumerism. And then along came our first child, Caleb. I was actually blessed with a couple different baby showers, and I tell you, I had so much stuff for Caleb. So much stuff I had to return that he never used or used for a few hours, and that was it. Just so much stuff. We ended up moving to Arizona, had Joshua and Nathan there, and found ourselves in just such a trapped place because of all the stuff, all the debt. We had a home that we were way upside down on. We knew that something had to change, and it had to change quick. So we tell our whole debt-free story also on our Thousands of Roots channel. You can check out that video as well. So shortly after bankruptcy and just a really challenging 5 years in the desert, we moved to Alaska. And Alaska was the place where the Father really began to work on both Kip and I's hearts in some really awesome ways, to just show us what His purpose was for us. It was a time where we were beginning to understand what our passions were and what the purpose for those passions was. Also, while we were in Alaska, our first daughter was born, and that was just such a special time for me, for all of us. I have to admit, I went a little camera happy with her. During that time in Alaska, Kip was working for Fred Meyer, a grocery store chain. He had gotten pretty high up in management, and he just became really sick. sick and tired of all the consumerism, of having to be the one to try and pressure and encourage people to buy more stuff. It just kind of came to a breaking point for him, and he was just done with it all. Done with that way of life and ready for a fresh start. That fresh start began here in Missouri 7 years ago. We were able to purchase the 20 acres that we live on now. So we experimented with growing our own food a little bit in Alaska, but quickly realized it just wasn't a place that we felt like we were supposed to stay. To be able to grow our own food sustainably in Alaska was just a bit more than we could think of managing. So we began to look elsewhere, and we actually have another whole video on why Missouri. So you can check out that video on our Thousands of Roots channel as well. After being in Alaska about 4.5 years, we decided to move, and we were pregnant with Joseph at the time. We packed up everything into a little trailer and everything else that we owned into the back of the truck that was pulling the trailer, and we traveled all the way through Canada, huge story there, down into California to spend some time with family and to do some repairs on our truck. Got out to Missouri just in time to be able to give birth to Joseph in the trailer. We had our first true home birth in a travel trailer, and then we were able to move on to our property on Nathan's 6th birthday. So that was a really special day. Since then we've had 2 more home births, 2 more little girls, and we've been learning how to grow our own food and flowers ever since, with the hope that this is going to be a place that sustains itself, that sustains our children. So Kip and I's story now is culminating in this place that we've been gifted with, where Kip has this passion for sustainable living and developing permaculture designs. I have this passion for beauty and how we can incorporate beauty, flowers, peaceful places all over our property, because along with my passion for flowers and beauty, capturing beauty through this camera, it's to be able to invite people, friends and family, to come and find little places where they can sit and pray, or sit and just be quiet, be still, come together as couples for date nights, come together as families to just enjoy being together. So ultimately, Kip and I's combined passion that's been growing and being developed here on this land is culminating into a place that is going to unite people and bring people closer together, ultimately closer to our Creator. That's what we're passionate about here at Homestead Living, Thousands of Roots. We want to be able to grow our own food to help nourish our family and friends, and develop places of peace where people can come and grow in their relationships. And for the past 4 years, we've been recording as much of that as we can on our YouTube channels, and have been so blessed by those who have followed along this journey. So I hope that you guys are encouraged today to think back on your story. Think about what it is in your life, moments, just even if it's just little snapshots of your life, those moments that stand out because you just loved what you were able to do. You love those moments. And don't let anything stop you anymore. Don't let challenges get in the way. Maybe they will for a while, but just let it go and keep pressing on. I'm gonna leave you guys with just a few photos going back to the years before we started YouTubing. We were on our property here for a few years before YouTube started, and so I thought I'd share just a few of the photos of the very, very first years here on a homestead. And until next time, we pray blessings over you and yours, and whatever you do, do it with your whole heart.